How can you make your business and your life pandemic-proof with multiple streams and pillars of income, cash flow, and value-producing assets? Thank you, Marco, for that introduction, and love this podcast episode. The more pillars and the more income streams you have, the more financially, foundationally strong you and your family can be.
Stable, might you ask.
Stable.
Powerhouse.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because so many people have one. They have a just over broke the job. And if that one pillar falls, they're toast.
Toast.
Right? The proverbial ceiling falls down. And if that actually happens, people then become afraid of taking that leap and changing from that pillar to something else. Because they think, well, if I leave this pillar, everything's going to come crashing down because I have a job. So what we're going to talk about is how to slowly build some of those pillars so that you can have multiple ones. Initially, they won't be huge. They won't be the biggest things ever, but they grow over time, just like a tree. Sounds dumb and obvious, but starts out with a tiny acorn, grows into a huge oak. Okay, so it's tiny at first, but it compounds over time. So, Britnie, what are some income streams that you personally have used in your life to build that financial fortress?
Well, I always tell people to build one out pretty strong.
Yep.
Don't try to build them all at the same time.
Correct.
So once you've built one and it's stabilized, then you can spend your time building more.
Correct.
More and more and more. So there's 7 that I think are the main ones.
Okay.
In at least the categories people can be thinking of.
Okay.
And now I have this all on a spreadsheet
Yep.
to where I can see how much I'm making in each category every single month, which is super fun. And then we're like, oh, why don't we just invest this and grow that part? So main ones are real estate income, education income, royalty income, business income, passive income, stock income, and interest income.
Yes. Those are the main 7. Yep. And royalty income is one that I have 0 in, and I want to work on that. Like, it's one of my slight, tiny dreams to either write a country song, obviously, or just be in some form or fashion where I can get royalty income based off of, again,
You're not getting royalty income on your book?
Shoot. Yeah.
All right, there you go.
She's
like,
right.
what?
Mind blow, number 1. No, that's a good point. I didn't. I had a definition, and that definition wasn't totally correct. Yeah, you're 100% right.
There you go. But you probably thought of it as education, but that's how you can make royalty income off of the education you create.
Yeah. Now, ask me the question, how much am I making off that book?
How much are you making off that book?
Hundreds of dollars a month. Nothing outrageous.
It's effective for some people.
But exactly. It's effective. It's amazing. And I can take that money and I can put that money right into something else that grows more. And that is very easy. So I'll give you an example, a very, very real life example. So my book, Money Grows on Trees, #1 Amazon bestseller, makes about $800 a month. And I take that $800 and I can spend $500 of it on a virtual assistant to go through all of my emails and messages on one of my digital e-courses that I have out there online. It's on a website called Udemy, right? udemy.com. So on Udemy, I have 3 or 4 courses out there, and each course sells for about $10 a pop, right? Not that much directly, but about 300 people buy that every single month. So I can have this virtual assistant go through all my emails, all the messages and everything that I get on these virtual digital courses, right? So she spends time doing that. She gets paid. She gets excited. She gets an income stream. And then from the book literally provides all the resources and time and ability to make extra few $1,000s a month off those e-courses. And it's a perpetual machine that I don't have to do anything for, other than initially upfront take the time and or money and or skill set to build those out, which is not very much realistically.
No.
So just a tiny example, but then you can take all different types of income and funnel it into other pillars as you are progressing, because it didn't happen immediately.
No.
It wasn't something I was just born with. It was something that I start off with a job, which a lot of people have, and that job funded some savings, which we're going to talk about in the future episodes. The savings was a 401k. Took the 401k, started buying stock with it. That stock started making money, right? I took that money and started doing things with that money. Promotions, business ideas, books, webinars, seminars, going and reinvesting into myself. That was an educational part of myself. Taking that money, that information, that knowledge, and then applying it to, therefore, grow the stocks account more, right? And then through the growth of the stock account, here's what begins to happen. People, or at least me, begin to feel more freedom. You begin to get more confidence. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 20 years old and I'm doing this. I'm making thousands of dollars in the stock market. This is crazy, right? And then with that confidence comes a certain like level of swagger, and that's when I start buying the Dumb and Dumber tuxedos and doing some stupid things because, I'm 20. But you start to get the real point, Britt, is you get the confidence to believe that you can.
Yeah.
And that is when that shift begins to crazy dramatically change your life, because it's in that moment when you get that confidence, you go, oh my gosh, I can see the path. You'll actually go walk down it faster, or you'll start running down it rather than crawling down it.
Jeez. You're just dropping knowledge bombs. Like, I'm just, how do I even respond to that? Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah.
And once you've stabilized that,
Yep.
again, you can start going into multiple streams.
Correct.
One of the things I want to point out is we're not telling you not to become great at something. Again, we're telling you to be really good and then do this. But the reason you want to not just stop when you're comfortable, besides the fact that your impact depends on it and other people depend on it, is let's say something like a pandemic happens.
I mean, not that that'll ever occur. The rarity at which that could happen.
And you're, let's say you're a multi-billionaire like Richard Branson, and you are fully invested in hotels.
And travel.
And cruise ships.
Yeah.
And trains.
Yeah.
And concerts.
And music and live events.
Whew. And islands.
Yeah.
All of these different businesses start being affected. If he only had hotels, he could get knocked out of the game. If he only had hotels and cruise ships, he could get knocked out of the game. But because he had Virgin Galactic going on and all these other kinds of investments, he was able to, well, it's not over yet, but he is weathering this pandemic. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that 70-year-old man is going to make it.
With abs.
He's 70 years old.
With abs.
He's pointing out that he has abs because he's disciplined.
Yes.
He's not just stopping at, I'm a billionaire, I can look like whatever I want.
Bingo.
He's still working out. He's still training his brain. He's still creating partnerships.
Yep.
And he's desperately trying to figure this out.
Yep.
So he can save as many jobs as humanly possible. But can you imagine working your whole life, your entire life, at the many hours and the sacrifices he's made, and then getting knocked out with something you can't control?
Yeah,
Now that's a billionaire's problem.
Right.
What if all you had was a job? And you're a waitress? And you're not allowed to even go to work because they're not allowed to open a restaurant.
Right.
Per your city's limits. Like,
Right.
you are responsible for your own life. And if you're awake enough to be able to provide for more than just yourself, or you've got kids, it's your responsibility to have more than one way to make money.
Right.
What if you're a camera guy and you break both your arms?
Oh,
you
wow.
can't film, you can't edit.
Right.
What if you're a pilot and you start going blind? You've got to start building these things now. You've got to start being wise with who you spend your time with. Pay attention to what movies you're watching, what shows you're watching, what you're talking about. I love spending time with you because every time we have any conversation, breakfast, lunch, dinner, sitting by the pool, sitting in traffic, doesn't matter where we are, we're creating things.
Right.
Things are going places. The world is a better place. Our businesses are going to grow. Our minds are going to grow.
Yeah.
And that's the power of powerful friendships.
Right.
So be very, very, very aware, because you don't know when the next recession, when the next bomb, when the next pandemic.
So true.
You don't know.
Yeah.
There's disasters. One of my companies is disaster response.
Literally, that's one of your companies.
They happen overnight.
Yeah.
Overnight, your entire country can be rocked to its core. I just went someplace where 90% of the housing disappeared.
Wow.
In 5 hours.
Wow. 90%.
90%.
That number is way too high.
What do you think happened to all the jobs in that community?
Yeah. Just obliterated.
You physically cannot go to work. So you have to figure this out because not everybody can just move. Not everybody can just this, especially if you're an island nation. Some people don't even have passports or the ability to go somewhere else. So having income coming into your life to where you can take the time to go help your community or your family or take a year off is your responsibility.
Yep, absolutely agree. And there's, again, so many ways to do it because it can be all business, right? Where you take some amount of money that you've made from, let's say you are a business owner. You are a business owner, you own your own business. Let's go back to your camera business earlier. So you mentioned, okay, you're a cameraman and you have your own business doing that and you specialize in filming and editing and creating and making beautiful images that tell phenomenal stories that impact human beings and businesses and people. So that's your business.
Sounds like a nice, pleasant, impactful organization.
Absolutely agree.
Got a good purpose. Therefore, nothing will go wrong, right?
Well, that would be lovely if that was the case. So you make some money, you make some income from that particular operation. You take that income and then you go buy another film production company, or you go buy another video crew or editing team, someone who's starting up, someone who might be younger than you, or someone who might be older than you and needs some income, they're at a space in their business where they need some cash flow. So you go in and actually buy equity into that business and you teach them some things. Yep. You spend an intentional time, an hour, 3 hours, a weekend, teaching them this is how to look, this is how to angle, this is how the lighting, just give them your information.
Like rehabbing a company?
Oh my God. You can do that?
What? Some people even flip companies.
No, what? Get out of here.
Yeah, it happens.
So go in, make the company better, make the revenue increase, make the cash flow increase, make the employees happier, provide them with a compelling mission, and then sell that business for more money than you bought into it for?
I've heard it can be done.
But that is a stream of income that anyone, I personally believe, can start.
It can also grow your cash.
Yes, because as you're doing that, in any country that you live in, there are businesses around you that need optimization, that need help, that need customers, that need a plan, that need a little bit of tweak, some magically, mentally adjustments that they can make. And as an outsider, you can help them make that. Oh, look, your sign. You need to update your sign. You need a better logo. You need to paint this. You need to update it. You can see that. Imagine I'm a painter and I live in one of the countries that you just mentioned, someone that's massively affected, and all you do is you paint really well. That's your skill set. Are you able to go and paint houses and make them prettier, paint hotel entrances and make them more gorgeous, pour in your value and your time, increase your cash flow, increase your income, and then take that knowledge of, oh, this is how I paint, this is how I implement, this is how I color palette, this is how I structure things. Take that knowledge and provide them to other hotel owners, other restaurant owners, other people that live on the island. Have a crew to come in and help you. Teach that skill, amplify that skill, propel that skill. Therefore, you can perpetually make more money.
Oh my gosh.
That's an ability that anyone can do.
I want to take a second and speak to my naturally negative people.
Okay.
If you naturally can walk in a room, some people have this gift, and find everything wrong with it, I can actually tell you that's a gift.
It is
because everything he just said uses that gift. You find everything wrong. Now, are you going to let that make you sour and complainy, or are you going to say, how can I help make it right? And how can I create value by making it right?
Yes.
Taking it from where I see it can be.
Yeah.
This is where it can be. This is where it is.
Yeah.
I can actually bridge that gap. That's opportunity. So my naturally negative people, every single thing you think is wrong is a opportunity for you to be able to create value.
Yeah. There's a problem and I'm about to solve it.
Oh. Yo, I'll solve it.
that is a line from a song.
I love it. One thing you said earlier, I want to point out to people is just because that camera guy has this beautiful vision of what he can do through film and he starts a business out of it, your positive intent will not stop calamity.
Facts.
I used to think that because I had holy intentions of using my money to build orphanages, that the Red Sea of problems would just part and get beside me. And I would just be able to flow and the doors would open. And I do believe everything can be used and worked together for good. But I want you to know you're not doing something wrong because bad things are happening. You're not necessarily doing something wrong, but it is still your responsibility to find a way, not an excuse, have other things set up, be responsible, have insurance, do the right thing, have the paperwork. And we're going to go into that more in a later episode.
We are.
You just had an epiphany. I saw the face. That was an epiphany face.
That was the mind. That's what my face looks like when my brain explodes.
For those of you who can't see, his giant beard is on his face. His mouth wide open. His eyes are 10x.
As big as they can
As big as they can get.
Which is normal size eyes.
And the sun just beamed through this room and struck his head.
Can't tell you what happened. It was. Okay, so you said, here I am thinking all of this positivity and everything's going to be just fine because I'm just a super positive person. I'm going to create everything. All right. Well, the more successful you become and the more monetarily well-off you become, what happens? Well, you amplify, right? Money amplifies who you are. So if you're an extremely positive person, it amplifies positivity. Well, what happens in the law of energy when something becomes more positive? It attracts more negativity.
What?
Yeah, because it's the polar opposite. Yeah, you're exactly right. You think that it would react to more positivity, but the more positive you become, the more negative you attract in your life.
Dang it.
Because that is the law of energy. With every reaction, there's an opposite. Yeah, an equal reaction. Exactly. And so when you want to create so much good for the world,
oh my gosh.
That's the epiphany that I just had. Like you're going to, now we want it to create more positive, and we're going to attract a lot of positivity, but we're going to have such a massive force that's going to oppose us. The stronger we get, the more and the stronger that force.
I don't want to believe that.
Well, I know. I don't want to. But
it makes sense.
Doesn't it? Because you've seen it.
It makes so much dang sense.
Yeah. And we get stronger. We get stronger. We get stronger. We have these abilities to handle it more and more and more as time progresses. But having that ability doesn't mean that we shy away from it.
Right.
We embrace it and we go, well, I'm strong enough now. I have the ability. I have the resources, but I know that this opposition is there, and I'm going to use all my skills and resources to eliminate it. Because you mentioned just a moment ago, your boy, SRB, Sir Richard Branson, multi-billionaire with an L, all right, billionaire. And do you think that this pandemic, this global pandemic, he's like, no big deal, right? It's a huge hurt. It's a massive stress in his life. And yes, he will be, in my opinion, able to weather this storm. However, that's a massive polar opposite effect against all the positivity he's trying to create in his life. And that happened to so many other billionaires in the world that had so many of their other money in these particular instruments. Now, will we recover from this as a global community? I personally believe we will. But that's just so interesting to me, is that's going to happen. And I say, bring it. Haters, be my motivators.
Oh, he's so much ballsier than me. I learned not to say anything. I don't challenge it anymore. I just roll with it when it comes.
Yeah.
I used to be like, bring it. Now I'm like, okay.
Britnie, they hate us because they ain't us.
The haters are going to happen.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about how to deal with them in future episodes.
Yes, we are. Stay tuned.
But what's next?
Well, what's next is we're going to be talking about what to save versus what to invest, and then avoiding the wipeout.
Oh, man. And what happens if you do wipe out? How to deal with it.
Coming up.
Stay tuned. If you like what you've heard and you want to join a network of other Force for Good entrepreneurs to scale your income and your impact, go to broketowoke.com and join the G-Force Mastermind.